That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Thor, Love and Thunder, the seventh film directed by Taika Waititi, which is being released courtesy of Disney July 8th, 2022. And I think it should have been called Thor, Thunderbolt, and Lightfoot, but that's just me.
Oh, Littlefoot is the Land Before Time?
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, that's a Michael Cimino reference, Clint Eastwood, Jeff Bridges movie.
Okay. But Littlefoot is from the Land Before Time.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Who directed Ragnarok?
Taika Waititi.
Okay.
So
I really like that movie.
I did too. So this is the fourth Thor, dedicated Thor film. He's been obviously sprinkled about here and there. And the second to be directed by Taika Waititi. And I think Thor Ragnarok sets itself apart from most Marvel films. And because of that, I think I had high expectations for me for this film, which I thought it fell short of.
Oh, I have a cramp in my foot. Okay, the basic story of this one. So we know from the last film, Thor's hammer was destroyed, and Asgard was destroyed. So the people of Asgard are now living on Earth.
In New Asgard.
And the remnants of his hammer are with them. Okay, Natalie Portman, we know she was Thor's love interest in the first two films.
Jane Foster.
She's back. The hammer is calling her. So she goes.
And she's dying of cancer.
It's important to know she's dying of cancer. She goes to get, to the hammer, and she's able to possess it. So now she's a god. She's basically Thor. And Thor now has a new weapon, an axe. Okay. So, of course, there has to be a villain. The villain is played by Christian Bale.
Gorr.
He's mad because, I thought this was funny. He's mad because his daughter dies and the gods he worshiped basically laugh at him. Like, you're so stupid for thinking we're going to do anything for you.
He was just a man.
He was just a man then. So he gets a hold of an axe.
No, this sword called
This
necro sword chooses him.
That will kill gods. But he needs to get to a place called eternity. Because in eternity, if he can make it in, he can make one wish. And his wish would be to kill all the gods. But in order to get to eternity, he needs Thor's axe. So Thor, Natalie Portman, that rock creature, are looking for Christian Bale to stop him.
And Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie.
Christian Bale is successful in getting into eternity. Like, he does get Thor's axe. And he is at the point where he's about to make his wish when Thor says, girl, why don't, instead of you trying to kill all of the gods, why don't you wish to have your daughter back? And he's like, but if I bring her back, I'm just going to die.
Because the sword is killing him.
But ultimately, Christian Bale does decide to wish his daughter back. So he's gone. Also, Natalie Portman, because she's a god, but also has cancer, the chemotherapy wasn't working on her. So when she relinquishes her hammer, she dies as well. So Thor is left with Christian Bale's daughter, who he names Thunder. Or is that her name?
He says we call ourselves Love and Thunder at the end.
Anyway,
because she has died and come back and has godlike capabilities, and he's training her.
So basically, Thor is going to raise Christian Bale's daughter. That's where the title of the movie comes from. And then Natalie Portman, because she was a god and died in battle, she ends up in Valkyrie.
That's the second post-credit sequence, yes.
What's the first post-credit sequence?
Which it regards a plot point you completely overstepped. In order to defeat the God Butcher, which is what they're calling Christian Bale's Gorr, because he's going around, he's killing quite a few low-hanging fruit amongst the God community. They decide to go to, they being Thor, the Mighty Thor, who is Natalie Portman's Jane, and Valkyrie, to a place called Omnipotent City, which is basically Mount Olympus, where Zeus presides, because they want to either get an army from Zeus or get his sword, the Thunderbolt. Zeus declines, so we believe that Thor kills him. And the first post-credit sequence is Russell Crowe as Zeus, very much alive and angry and talking.
Russell Crowe?
Yes. is Zeus. He's in the posters.
Oh, I thought you said Russell Brand was Zeus.
No, Russell Crowe. And he's very much alive and well and pissed and is talking to his son Hercules.
I'm 100% sure you told me Russell Brand.
No.
That may not be correct, but that's what you told me.
He does have, Russell Crowe does have a similar like lady hairdo as Russell Brand dons.
I wasn't able to attend the screening. I had business matters to attend to. But how does Christian Bale look?
He looks ill. His gore is basically, he looks like he stepped out of a Marilyn Manson music video doing impression of David Thewlis's The Shame Monster from Big Mouth.
How does Thor look?
Good. He always looks good. It's to catch us up to the present. The rock creature Korg, that's voiced by Taika Waititi. We need to talk about the passive queerness that's going on in this film as well. Basically catches up to speed about how he went from sad bod to dad bod, because in the last film, in one of those films, he had gained a bunch of weight. And where was I going with that? Oh, he looks fine. He's back in fighting shape.
What about Natalie Portman?
I think Natalie Portman's terrible in this film, and not that I really liked her in Thor or Thor: The Dark World. She's supposed to be this astrophysicist, and they give her some of the most inane dialogue. Jennifer Cajun Robinson wrote this script with Taika Waititi, and it's very clear that they want to have the same energy as Thor: Ragnarok. But the performers on the sidelines in that film, like Cate Blanchett and Jeff Goldblum and Rachel House, I think. Added a lot that nobody here really has the capability of being able to do so. Jane Foster's supposed to be an astrophysicist, and she sounds so stupid in almost everything.
You didn't like this movie?
No, there were some bits I did like, such as, he had to relinquish his old weapon and has this new one, but it's clear that, he's still attracted to Jane for whatever reason. We also get a montage of that, I think, set to Enya. And of course, how Led Zeppelin was used quite memorably in...
The Immigrant Song.
In Ragnarok. This is a Guns N' Roses film. We got Sweet Child of Mine and Welcome to the Jungle, and you even got some Mary J. Blige in here. The soundtrack...
what's the Mary J. Blige piece?
Is it Family, something All in the Family?
Family Affair?
Family Affair, yeah.
Dancery?
Uh-huh.
This hateration...
Anyway.
That's the Family Affair.
And ABBA. So... It's and this opens with a cameo from the Guardians of the Galaxy, all the soundtrack selections very much feel in line with this film kind of having that sort of energy. But yeah, I really disliked, especially when Natalie Portman becomes the Mighty Thor, and they can't give her a better name than that either. Tessa Thompson, I feel like she's extremely limited. She's now known as King Valkyrie, who lords over New Asgard, which we're told is basically this tourist attraction / fishing village. Christian Bale, the trick is he has to trick Thor into coming to him in this shadow world, which is basically like a reverse Wizard of Oz, where we leave this world of color to this dark black and white world, which does look really good and cool in this film's parameters. But he kidnaps all the children of New Asgard and kills this small creature in front of them. But the film is never as dark, I think, as it wants to be in those moments. What I do like is that, as I said, Thor wants access to his old hammer, and his new weapon keeps getting jealous. Like he's kind of lusting for this hammer, and the sword keeps coming up in the periphery and making an appearance. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just looking. Kat Dennings, who I don't really care for either, as Darcy from the first 2 Thor movies. She makes a cameo. People seem very happy about that in the audience, of course.
What's the queer component?
Well, a lot of these films now are doing that passive queer things in the sidelines. Well, Valkyrie was always designed to be kind of like bisexual, and her, she's this ex-alcoholic whose girlfriend died in battle, one of the Valkyries, and she's mourning her loss. Korg tells his backstory about basically these rock creatures are all male creatures that have this long extended lovemaking period where they fuse together to make new baby rocks.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Oh, and then in New Asgard, there are cameos by Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth and Sam Neill and Melissa McCarthy, because they put on plays about the old stories of this culture, and those people are all playing these characters in this universe. And Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth very much seem like theater instructors that are in a relationship. But Yeah.
What else you got? Like a little paper.
This, I don't know. It just kind of showcased, I think, Waititi's kind of limitations in this very broad comedy that I think you really have to be in the mood for. Because I thought this was kind of painful to sit through. It reminded me a bit of Masters of the Universe.
The cartoon?
That movie, yes,
Oh.
with He-Man from like 1987 with Meg
okay.
Foster and is it Dolph Lundgren?
That sounds right.
You put that on periodically. And another positive about it, I think Russell Crowe is kind of entertaining as the sex-obsessed Zeus, which is very tracking with what that character is as a mythological figure. But there's also, I just don't understand the rationale for mixing the mythologies. Of course, Thor is a Norse mythology with Greek mythology. And of course, Russell Crowe is doing this kind of exaggerated Italian accent. And while I did find his moment entertaining, it just, I don't know, you might as well bring Jesus Christ from Christian mythology in here to me. It's like, why are we mixing all of those pan-theological superheroes? I don't know. I just thought it was kind of boring. And I think it's just under 2 hours or about 2 hour mark. At least, thankfully it's not bloated. Another thing that there are two vending machine sequences which took me out. There's one where Natalie Portman's dying. She's just gotten her prognosis, and Kat Dennings is giving her vending machine food. And then Thor, who presumably would know what a vending machine is by now, mistakes it for a refrigerator without a door and is bringing Natalie Portman vending machine food. It's clearly this woman is not eating vending machine food.
What would you give it?
1.
Oh, wow. Anything else? Mm-mm. Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.